U.S. intelligence agencies all agreed that Russia ran a huge influence campaign to help Donald Trump get elected in 2016. And the intelligence community says that Russia is still interfering to try to help Trump win this year. Just over 2 months before Election Day, however, this president's top intelligence official just told Congress that he will no longer provide them with in-person briefings for election security issues. The director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, says he's doing this to crack down on leaks. Even though there's plenty of reporting, the president just hates it when people bring up Russian election interference and has even punished officials who had the temerity to brief Congress about it. Democrats are outraged by the decision to cancel those in-person briefings. Joe Biden says this is, quote, how American national security and sovereignty are violated. And in a joint statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Intel Chair Adam Schiff said this is a, quote, shocking abdication of its lawful responsibility to keep the Congress currently informed. And one of the people who authored that statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, joins me now. Let me first start, Speaker. It's great to have you with your understanding of what this decision is, why it happened, and what its implications are.
Well, let's just put it in its perspective. In the National Security Act of 1947 states very clearly that the intelligence community must fully and currently brief Congress on intelligence matters. So they're flying in the face of the law which established all of this procedure. We said shockingly, but it is hard to be shocked anymore at the abuse of power of this administration now, isn't it? It's very clear that the president wants, invites, appreciates Russia's involvement in our elections, which is not lawful. So when the president doesn't want Congress briefed or the American people, by the way, this intelligence belongs to the American people. It belongs to the Congress. The administration is the custodian of it, and we protect sources and methods. But we do also protect our elections. We don't want Vladimir Putin deciding who the next president is. We want the American people to decide that. The president thinks otherwise.
Just a sort of technical question, but I have been a little unclear from the reporting. Is this no one in Congress gets in-person briefings, or the committees don't, and the so-called Gang of Eight, the leadership still does? What is your understanding of what they're saying the policy is now?
Well, whatever it is, it's wrong. I mean, that is to say, they have a responsibility to brief the committees and also the full Congress, and they set up those opportunities to happen. And we accepted them. We set the dates. So this was all on a path until they must have gotten orders from headquarters that they should not brief the Congress. They're using the excuse of leaks. Well, we don't know of any leaks, and we don't want any leaks, and we would condemn any leaks. But that is not a reason. It is an excuse on the part of the president. As we all know, and you said so clearly, he doesn't even want to hear the word Russia. We don't know politically, personally, financially what Russia has on this president, but it must be something. But for people in his party to go along with this, that can sometimes be shocking. Nothing he does is shocking. But you would think with their history in the Congress, their knowledge of the intelligence process and how valuable that is, that they would corrupt it for Donald Trump is shocking.
Obviously, I was going to ask you what the recourse is here.
I have every intention that the Gang of Eight will be briefed. But I have never wanted it to stay there. I've always wanted more members, the committees and the Congress, to know, because they have to make decisions. And how can they make decisions if only 8 people know what is relevant to their judgment?
There was a huge decision out of a 3-judge panel of the D.C. Appellate Court today, ruling 2-1, somewhat a remarkable ruling that essentially there is no constitutional power for the courts to enforce a congressional subpoena. It has to do with the former White House counsel Don McGahn. This has been working its way through the courts for a long time, basically saying, look, that's up to you, Congress, I guess, with your inherent contempt abilities, but don't come crying to us, the courts. You released a statement saying you're going to appeal that. What's your reaction to that decision?
Well, again, to put it in perspective, they ruled against us before this three-judge court, and they said we did not have standing to bring this. We appealed it to what they call en banc, the full court, which is 11 members. They ruled in our favor that we did. Now, that was on standing. This is on the substance, so we will appeal this to the en banc court, and we'll see what happens there. And at that point, we have options to go to the Supreme Court. If we win there, they'll probably go to the Supreme Court, and then Congress can act upon it, pass legislation and the rest. But the very idea that they would undermine the system of checks and balances, three co-equal branches of government, each a check and balance on the other, to have this third branch of government appointed by the president to make a ruling against the Constitution just shows you on top of what we just talked about, just tells you how important the next election is, let's put it that way.
In terms of between now and the election, there is this looming question about any kind of subsequent relief or rescue money. There has been an impasse. The HEROES Act passed out of the House 3 months ago or 4 months ago, I want to say. It sat there. Mitch McConnell didn't take it up. They got May 15th, they got a few good jobs numbers, and they thought, oh, we're done with this. Then there was a huge second spike. We've seen economic activity level off. A lot of people are struggling. The president's jerry-rigged this executive order to maybe get people some additional relief that's not going to last very long and is incomplete. Are negotiations ongoing, and where are they?
Well, you have described the situation very well, except I put some numbers on it. We passed the bill on May 15th. At that time, Mitch McConnell pressed the pause button. He said there was no reason for us to do anything. Since that time, 4.6 million more people have been infected. 4.5 million more people have been infected, and 96,000 more people have died. Thank you for your pause, Mitch McConnell. Too bad you didn't tell the virus to pause. Okay, so we are engaged in these negotiations, but just look at it this way. What further evidence does anyone need that this president didn't care less about the spread of this virus than to see what he did, vandalizing, by the way, the White House by bringing all those people there, no mask, no distancing, and the rest. He slapped science right in the face. And what a bad example that was. So if we're going to succeed in negotiations, we have to look to the science. Dr. Jha has told us over and over that we need 3 million tests a day. That's what we have in the HEROES Act. But they just won't do it. They won't take up a strategic plan to do that. They won't do state and local government, which is so essential to our heroes, hence called the HEROES Act, for health care and first responders and sanitation, transportation, teachers, food suppliers, and the rest. So we have a real problem here because they do not understand the gravity of the problem. They refuse to accept the science and what science is advising, and hence we have this situation where I think that what Donald Trump is saying to the American people, because now we're coming into school this week, kids are going to school and the rest, he's saying to them, choose me over your child, because I'm not going to spend the money it takes to make it safe to go back to school. I'm not going to do what it takes to stop the spread of this virus, or when kids go to school, to have the ventilation, the spacing, the teachers that you need to do that. This is appalling, but again, yet again, another reason why, if only they would pay attention to the scientists testing, tracing, treating, spacing, mask, sanitation, and the rest. Instead, the president just wants what now? Herd immunity, which is totally discredited by anyone who knows anything about epidemiology except his advisor, who knows nothing about it.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, representing her district there in San Francisco, as you can see from the backdrop. And it sounds like we're not that much closer on this bill.
Well,
thank you very much for making. Well, I hope something passes. I mean, if I can editorialize.
Yeah, we do too. We do too. But again, let's just say this week we're having our day of action for kids going back to school, and you'll see what parents, teachers, children think about this. But again, we very much want to have an agreement. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Appreciate it.